So now, about Buddhism. At the time of Buddha, when Buddha actually, carrying teaching Buddhism, I think something like public teaching, one level, public teaching. I think he used the language, then I think a common language. Maybe later, I think combined these teaching in Pali text, Pali language. That is publicly sort of teach. Then some selected people, among his disciples, some selected who also have the ability, to see some Bodhisattva like Maitreya Bodhisattva, the Kasa, Kudusamasa Kasa, Samantapatra Bodhisattva, Manjushri Bodhisattva, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. These form a deity form, not just rough physical, including such sort of disciple. Then another very, very selective, very few individual. Then he carried the teaching of Buddhist Tantrayana. So, right from the beginning, some Buddhist follower, very sort of skeptical about Sanskrit tradition, so-called Mahayana Buddhism, because he not taught these teaching in publicly. So when Nagarjuna come, according sort of Buddhist literature, after 400 years, Buddha passed away. After 400 years, Nagarjuna came. So in his writing, like Precious Garland, he mentioned the Mahayana teaching is actually teachings of Buddha's own teaching and Sanskrit tradition. So like Parijjaparamita Sutra is there in Sanskrit language, and it mentioned the, I think, special practice of Bodhisattva, so that eventually describe Mahayana Buddhism. And then also it's some the point in Mahayana Sutra, in Mahayana teaching, the importance of the compassion or inner quality rather than physical, verbal discipline. So Vinaya mainly emphasizes the discipline of physical action, verbal action, not much about mental action. The Mahayana teaching emphasizes more on mental sort of discipline. And also, because the improvement of mental thinking, so the infinite altruism, that's Bodhicitta, Bodhising, right? Bodhicitta emphasis. And with that, 6 parameters. You see, these are essence of Mahayana Buddhist teaching. And these in Sanskrit language. Some people, some scholar, even you see, they told me Buddha doesn't speak Sanskrit. I think commonly, maybe true. But for selective sort of individual, selective sort of audience, you see, like Nagarjuna, and these really, I say, the great master not only just, you see, good devotion to Buddha, but actually they're very brilliant sort of people, very, very brilliant. You see, these Thangas, the 17 scholars of Nalanda University, monastic university. So sometimes I describe these masters from the Buddhist viewpoint. As a Buddhist, we consider these are really Buddhist masters. But in the academic field, these people are professors of Nalanda University. The way their presentation about Buddha Dharma, not relying on quotation of Buddha, but rather investigation. And they took the liberty, even as Buddha's own sort of teaching, they examine, investigation, logically. Then they found some of Buddha's own teaching, found some contradiction with our actual sort of, investigation. Then they reject even Buddha's own word. They say Buddha taught this for different purpose, not ultimate reality. So since Buddha himself, you see, was this expressed or taught his disciple, "Oh, my follower, my disciple, monks and nuns and others, should not accept my teaching out of devotion and out of faith, but rather through investigation and experiment." So that means, you see, he made clear among his own teaching, some teaching purposely taught different way. So my follower should examine, not relying on my word. So, like Nagarjuna, and all these great masters, you see, they carry investigation. One time in Delhi, we have some conference about about historical event about Buddha Dharma. There I mentioned, since Nagarjuna was a kind of person who very, very intelligent one, he even examined Buddha's own word. So he never follow blind faith. He examined. And his thinking is very scientific way of thinking. And then the timing, he came to India, he born in India just after 400-500 years after Buddha's after Buddha. So comparatively closer than today's modern scholar after 2,600 years. And then he was Indian. So logically, Indian should know better about India than Western scholars from far away. And then Nagarjuna, a type of person, not just superstitious-minded or blind faith, follower of blind faith. So he examined always. So therefore, the Nagarjuna sort of what's the view about Buddha, about Buddha's teaching, should be really reliable. So he accepted Mahayana teaching. He wrote a lot of commentary about the Panchaparamita Sutra. Then about the Tantrayana. Even within the Mahayana practitioner, Buddhists who accept Mahayana as a true teaching of Buddha, among them, as far as Tantra is concerned, even some of them little skeptical. Because you see, Tantrayana, a few years ago, one Japanese who visited Tibet and then came to see me. And then he told me some temples in Tibet, some temple. You see, he found some temple a little bit dark, and then inside, very wrathful sort of faces, some and blood, skull with blood like that. No, then that night he lost his sleep because of fear. Then he told me, Buddhism, basically, he feel very much emphasis about compassion. Then such wrathful, fearful sort of, what's it, appeal, the gods or goddess, fearful. What is that? He mentioned, he asked me a question. He found a little bit sort of contradiction. Then also is one Tibetan monk, I think in perhaps 30s, 40s, when I was very, very small, very young. One monk scholar. He actually come from Mongolia. He very much fond about Pali tradition. So he very much sort of doubt about Tantrayana. So one time, you see, he expressed, you see, after he made one pilgrimage to Lama Tsongkhapa's monastery in Ganden Monastery, and the Lama Tsongkhapa's personal room there. So there are some tantric deities with consort. They are like Guhisamanza and the Hiruka and the Bezaberawa. So later he expressed, even Lama Tsongkhapa's was a private room, some deities looks like that, with consort. So he expressed a little bit complaint. It is very true. You see, it is sort of obvious contradiction. You see, we must sort of eradicate desire, certainly sexual desire, and killing, all these. But then, in deity yoga, you deliberately visualize yourself as a wrathful deity and with consort. This is really a contradiction. So we must know. So these are the facts. The Tantrayana is not Buddhism. It is something non-Buddhist sort of tradition, eventually corrupted. And in fact, some Indian historian, one great teacher, one university in I think Patiala University, one great professor, he wrote a book. I also have the copy. I think in 70s, I think, then he no more. Very good scholar, Professor Joshi or something, Professor Joshi. In his book, he mentioned the 3 causes of damaging Buddhism in India, or
Declination.
degeneration, or eventually disappear. The Buddhism in India, he mentioned 3 causes. Number 1, Buddhist monk, they possess more wealth, and some of the monks become very rich. So public respect lose. Number 1. Second, tantric practice without a proper sort of understanding, without a proper sort of practice, in the name of Tantrayana practice, drinking alcohol or women like that. So that another sort of cause for degenerating or diminishing Buddha Dharma. Then third, some of the sponsors, including kings, rajas, who eventually lost their interest. So the support lost. Right? So he mentioned that. But it is quite true. Frankly speaking, in Tibet also, sometimes because of the Tantrayana practice, without the basic qualification, right? Basic quality, just you see in the name of practice of Tantrayana, or see the neglect about Vinaya, discipline. These things happen. So these are the reason people losing respect and also develop suspicion about Tantrayana, authenticity of Tantrayana. But then on the other hand, like Nagarjuna, firstly, I think if we know the system of the tantric practice, known well through study, then there is no contradiction. And then like Nagarjuna, as I mentioned earlier, really reliable Buddhist master, very intelligent one, and very scientific-minded. He never accepted easily, unless he experiment or investigation, unless he convince through experiment, through investigation, he never accept easily. So such person wrote, I think, the very detailed and clear sort of explanation about Tantrayana. He himself, according to his disciple, his immediate disciple, he himself, great practitioner of Tantrayana. Meantime, he remained as a good monk, like that. So therefore, if we study thoroughly and read different different sort of commentaries, and examine by yourself, it is really convincing. Firstly, Mahayana teaching is authentic Buddhist teaching. Without Mahayana or Sanskrit traditions, I think Four Noble Truths, difficult to get deeper understanding about Four Noble Truths. first two truths, okay. The third truth, the truth of cessation, unless you get deeper understanding about the Shunyata theory, very difficult to get sort of, what's the convincing sort of understanding about third noble truth. Then as well as fourth noble truth, the true path to achieve the cessation of these destructive emotions. So, like the Dharmakirti's text, mainly is the logic, Buddhist logic, the 4 chapters. The second chapter, the explaining about the Four Noble Truths through reasoning, not through quotation of Buddha's word, but through reasoning. So, without Sanskrit tradition, explanation available in Sanskrit tradition, without that, difficult to kasota, to something like, I think, but I don't know. Difficult to develop kasota, conviction about the possibility of cessation of suffering. So therefore, Sanskrit tradition, of course, the Pali tradition is the basis of Buddha Dharma. Then second Dharma wheel, like Panchaparamita Sutra, is the further explanation about later two truths. The truth of cessation, truth of path. These two truths out of Four Noble Truths, I think without Panchaparamita Sutra's sort of explanation about ultimate reality, which is Shunyata. And Nagarjuna, really great sort of master about Shunyata. So his explanation is really, really convincing. So after reading or study his sort of explanation about Shunyata, Shunyata means interdependency. Say, once we study that, then the concept of ultimate reality, that Shunyata, becomes something reality. Otherwise, just word, emptiness like that, just word. So unless we study Nagarjuna's explanation, difficult to get real sort of the feeling of possibility of cessation. So therefore, the Mahayana teaching or Sanskrit tradition is very, very important. Then Tantrayana. The Tantrayana sort of was the immense help to get the real understanding about the possibility of the cessation. Not only not only the afflicted emotion, destructive emotion, but also the bhakja.
Latin imprints. Imprints of delusions.
Imprints of these destructive emotion. Without understanding about the Tantrayana, very difficult to understand that. And then also, according Pali tradition, Buddha just one historical figure. That's Buddha, only that Buddha. After he passed away, no, nothing. And early part of his life, ordinary human being. Then at Bodh Gaya, he enlightened. That's according Pali tradition. Now, according Sanskrit tradition, the four kayas, Nirmana Kaya, Sambhoga Kaya, and Dhyana Kaya, and the Dharma Kaya, Dharmata Kaya, four kayas, or Buddha's body, or four Buddhas. So, just one ordinary human being, they eventually enlightened without proper teacher, by himself, and carrying teaching, some teaching. And his teaching's effect remain 1,000 years. Not easily, Kasoda, understandable, difficult. And then Nagarjuna also, if you point out, the same practice, the Arahata's practice and Buddha's practice, same practice, but big different result. That also illogical. There's also 37 practice for mindfulness, and then kareta chamachashi yada bonshi.
The four mindfulnesses and for abandonments and for miraculous powers and for five strengths. Five strengths, five powers. 7 parts auxiliary to enlightenment. And 8 parts of Arya beings.
So these 37 sort of practice is the common. Mahayana and Hinayana, both is common. Through that practice, achieve Arahata. So the same practice, Buddha's case, through same practice become enlightenment, Buddhahood. That also not sort of Kasoda satisfactory explanation. The same path, but big different result. Why? Difficult. So therefore, unless you see unless we get some idea about 4 kayas, the type of Nirmana Kaya, Buddha Shakyamuni, difficult to do Kasoda to get clear picture or convincing. So 4 kaya. In order to get deeper understanding about 4 kaya and the systematic how to produce that 4 kaya from this very subtle mind, everybody have that. Sometimes we describe as a Buddha nature or Buddha seed. From this subtle mind, eventually become 4 kaya. That systematic sort of procedure way, unless we study the Nagarjuna sort of writing about Guhisamaja Tantrayana, very difficult to develop convincing way. Conviction. So therefore, you see, these are the main reason the Mahayana teaching is because of the complete explanation about truth. And then Tantrayana is the real method to develop 4 kaya from our subtle mind and energy. So like that. So therefore, that's our explanation. Is the Hinayana, Mahayana, Tantrayana. Of course, Tantrayana, Buddhist Tantrayana. I mean, there is Hindu Tantrayana also there. Even you see practice sort of the breathing and practice of certain yoga, and also practice of Chandalini, Kundalini, and through channels. These are common. So that's the introduction about Tibetan Buddhism. So in short, Tibetan Buddhism, as I mentioned this morning, introduced by Shantarakshita and follow-ups by the Shugyera. Followed up by Kamalashila. So these two great masters, as a professor of Nalanda. Of course, Pema Sambhava also immense help for establishment of Buddhism in Tibet. But in public teaching and sort of caring as a teacher, not much. But Shantarakshita, a great philosopher and monk, he gave ordination, Tibetan, and carry study, philosophy, logic, these things, and monastic systems, these established by Shantarakshita. So our tradition is pure Nalanda tradition. It is very true, like that. So as I mentioned this morning, the way our study is, firstly, we learn by heart or memorize these root texts. All these root texts wrote by these Nalanda master. Of course, among the commentary, Tibetan commentary also there, but mainly commentary wrote by those Nalanda masters, like that. So it is quite correct. Tibetan tradition is pure lineage of Nalanda tradition. So usually I explaining to my Indian friend, Indians are our guru. We are Chela. Chela means student. Guru, you know, teacher. We are Chela. So then, I also sometimes teaching them, we are not only just Chela or student, but also reliable Chela. Because, you know, the Guru's land, in Guru's land, see, recent centuries, as far as Buddhism is concerned, like the Nalanda institution, now completely disappear. And a lot of ups and downs has happened in Buddha Dharma, or the Indian Guru's teaching, Buddhist Guru's teaching. But during this period, we Tibetan faithfully kept these teaching intact. Intact. So that means we are quite reliable Chela. So really, the Indians, relation between Indian and Tibetan, we have something very unique sort of relation between teacher and student, like that. So now, as the time come, we return the precious ancient Indian thought, mainly is to come through Nalanda. We kept more than 1,000 years intact. Now rewrite, retranslation in Hindi, and sometimes composed in Sanskrit. So some our institution now, last few years, now already now doing these things, like that. Okay. So that's about the introduction of Tibetan Buddhism.